All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to TPI, the Total Podcast Idiots Show. I'm Guard 710, as some of you, hopefully most of you know, I'm president of Dominican University of California Penguins. But today's episode is not about me. Today is about the 2041 National Tournament winners in hardwood online college basketball. And so for Division One, congratulations to Plockman, and I believe that's how you say the name. That's how I've always pronounced it. Plockman and the Alabama Crimson Tide, of course. Um, UC Riverside in Division Two, and Southern Methodist in Division Three, actually. And I mean, maybe we'll take a little bit of a look at them. My brief looks at them, especially Riverside, because them being in California with me in my region, I've definitely kept my eye on them a little bit. They're a pretty good team. They had a great roster this season, I think. Um, we'll see about future seasons, as they enter Division One. That's always a pretty big jump, especially in recruiting. I think I was just talking to someone how it seems like that jump from like Division Two to Division One in recruiting is getting really drastic. You have to realize like the type of player you're really looking for. I mean, you can still get away with like flawed players and flawed builds, but it's a lot harder than what you were encountering in Division Two. And Southern Methodist actually looked like a really good team, really well-built team, at least for Division Three. I don't know the whole story with that program really. I know it's kind of a newish president, like just a week or so, 2 weeks old. And I don't think he logged in for the past couple of days either. But someone else had built the main majority of that roster, but I don't know like how it traveled up and down the divisions. Could have been like a Division Two caliber team, but just happened to demote the wrong time. So today's focus will be on Alabama, though. I mean, I always, we usually focus on Division One. Not to say Division Two and Division Three aren't important. It's just, Division One's the goal usually for most presidents in the game, and so in legends and all. So, that's our focus. So, and also I know Alabama a lot better, because I've played them the past few years. Um, and I would say this Alabama team is probably the best team I've ever seen. We'll get into it basically, but I had one of the greatest teams in the past, but we didn't win because we went up against what a lot of people consider the greatest team in the history of the game, at least one of them, I think, and in the 2027 Central Washington team, and I've played both of, Alabama and them and even that 20, I forget the exact year of Lincoln with Levi Ahanen. And sure, they didn't win the national championship, but that team destroyed legends to the same record that Alabama did. UMF, they went 27-3 one season. They were really good. I've played against all those teams, and I think this Alabama team is head and shoulders above those other teams. Against Central Washington, I thought I had a chance, and I think I really did. Against Alabama, I mean, sure, I had a chance. I lost to them by 10 at some point this season. But I never really thought I had a shot, a real shot at them. So, that just speaks to the roster that was built by Plockman. And yeah, how good it is. So we'll get into that, the roster that was built. Obviously, I did this retrospective with my own championship run a few seasons ago, and I provided a lot of depth. I hope I can't provide that level of depth for teams that aren't mine, of course. So I can't get into tactics, and maybe they don't want to reveal a lot of tactics. So I'll try to just look at it how I analyze it. So let's get away from my awful camera graphics and go to Hardwood's beautiful screen. Let me figure out how to do that again. So of course, congrats to the winners, and great seasons a lot for the other teams in the Final Four, and most of the teams making the tournament too. I mean, that's an accomplishment. Lincoln gave it a really good game, I think. Holding it to just a 7-point game. Um, and against this great Alabama team, I think I don't know how many people realize this, but at least I believe Alabama kind of played a little slower paced than a lot of a lot of teams in general, and I think a lot of teams would do with this talent level. I think, at least I prescribe to the thought that like the more talented your team is, the more talented they are than the other team, the faster you should play because, you're increasing the possessions and decreasing that variance of an upset. But you can see here, Alabama is on the lower side of teams in Legends on possessions per game. And so is Lincoln actually here too. They're right next to each other, as opposed to like, obviously like Cal Poly Pomona is crazy fast at 90 possessions a game. Aquinas, who is pretty fast. I mean, I know it's not Hodges' crazy fast team, but 83, there's my team at 81, but these teams are at like 75, 76 possessions per game. So that's considered kind of slow in hardwood. Um, and so I think that really made this game kind of slow. You can see it's low scoring, 66-59, and not great shooting by either team. Um, but that's obviously how it goes sometimes, and you can't always rely on offense. So these teams relied some on defense, I'd say, and Alabama was just a bit better. Although I guess percentage wise, you don't really see it that way. But they drew fouls. They went to the free throw line. And those are important. So yeah, just looking at this game itself, the big matchup was between Arthur Wendt and Raphael Miller, two absolute monster senders. Wendt obviously has drawn a lot of headlines. Um, just I don't even know what to say about it. Two-time All-American, two-time All-Legends Conference, obviously All-Tourney. I believe he probably will win the Discord National Player of the Year. At least I voted for him for that, I believe. I mean, you just everything about this guy is just amazing, right? He's very strong. He's probably the best inside scorer I've ever seen. I mean, I don't know, maybe there's at least by skills, maybe there's some physical attributes that maybe someone else has an advantage over him. I mean, obviously he's not like perfect, of course, but I mean, he's as good as can be, really. So yeah, I mean, that's who Alabama's built around, really. But I mean, Raphael Miller for Lincoln is right there, really, he was a better defender, almost as good of a scorer. Obviously, Miller doesn't. He's not perfect either, of course, but he had a great season. He showed up in this game here. 21 points to Wentz 23 points. I don't know. I mean, that's hard to really beat. 5 blocks for Miller, of 3 blocks for Wentz. So yeah. Um, obviously Alabama had contributions elsewhere, Riley Cowley, um, being the other 200 SI plus 200 plus SI guy on the roster. And I mean, think about like Alabama pushed a lot of chips in on this season. I mean, not like this recruiting class of Cowley and Went and Mark Schneider, and I think there might have been another guy too. Um, you know, what 3 5 stars. Let's look at their roster again. 3 5 stars, right? And if there's a redshirt junior on the roster too, and Blake Madison and Mitchell Shaver and Todd Patrick actually too, were all part of this class. So they pushed a lot of chips on there here. Um, their roster next year is going to lose a lot, and I know Blackman doesn't feel great about them, and I don't think they project that well. But national championship ring is worth it, So, but and I know they kind of struggled to get here, looking at their history, they haven't been in Legends the whole time. I mean, they pretty much almost, but they demoted, um, and then they promoted right back up. But yeah, that's kind of speaks to like the struggles a little bit that they went through. And I kind of remember this 2038 team. That's when I won, when I was beating up on Riley Cowley and Arthur Wendt, and I was like, let's keep them down there for as long as possible, but didn't work out. But yeah, I mean, that's how this team was built, one huge recruiting class with a ton of talent. Um, and it paid off, So it's not my style, but obviously, we've talked about how different recruiting strategies and styles can work. And so here's that come into fruition, really, So yeah, congrats to Plockman, man. I guess I just wanted to say all that first. We'll get into like how they're built and all and how they play. But yeah, actually, I should have started with this. I was gonna do an episode last se season going over Richmond's win and talking a little bit about other stuff, but then I got sick. Um, and then, the flip started to happen and things just got started getting in the way and got away. So I didn't end up doing it. Plus, it was a bot winning and, we all kind of know what bot tactics are. So it's not like, oh, like that insightful. I mean, we could have looked like how they were built. And P. Schwartz did a great job, and congratulations to them, if they're watching. I know they went bot, but they built that team, that program, and so it was a long time coming for them to win too. So, give them their flowers now too. And then I was also going to talk about Denver, kind of, doing some shady stuff again. I don't know how many people are kind of aware, and maybe I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I should talk about this, but like Denver has perhaps one of the greatest postseason resumes that I've ever seen. This president Flapjack. You can see Final Four, champion, finals, making the finals last season in Division Two. But all these were at Division 6 or Division 3 or Division 2. All this postseason success. Anytime they reached Division 1, they didn't have as much success, demoted back down, and then we started to notice some things, and this is 6 conference tournament wins, and I think they just added a seventh, I think. Um, and it's like, what is going on here? And I started to look into it, and it was kind of shady, um, with like tanking certain games to make sure they didn't get in a promotion position. And I think they've curtailed that, and so that's good. And obviously they're in Division 1 now, and they had a really good year this year. So, last season when they did this in Division 2, I was kind of going to bring it up again because they kind of tried to tank a certain game that would have pushed them to fourth, actually. Um, but they actually won that game, and so they ended up second, and then went on this run. But now they were in Division 1, and they clicked the wrong button, and they won their conference. They made it kind of far in the tournament, I believe. So, hopefully that whole stuff is behind them, and they're on the up and up now. So, yeah, I don't want to talk too much more about that. But yeah, um, that's an interesting program to definitely look at for sure. So anyways, back to Alabama though. Um, Sorry, that was just, what I was going to talk about last time. What we're talking about this time is Bama. And I asked Plogman real quick about like what he might want me to highlight. Um, and and he pointed out some really good things. Obviously, the focus is a lot on Callie and Went. Um, and rightfully so. I mean, they're very good players. And Schneider is serviceable, I'd say, at the least. He's pretty good, obviously, but he has his flaws. Um, the the key pieces, are like not the key pieces. I mean, one to Cali are the key pieces, but like, I'm pointing to Gilmore, and I'm gonna point to Pollard too. These two guys were like just perfect fits for this team, the way it plays, how it's built. Um, you know, Gilmore, you can see at least what I see as a shooting guard. I'm gonna look for perimeter defense, outside shot, range. IQ is nice to have. Handling is decent, and he's fast, and he's pretty tall for a shooting guard. And so all those things, we talk about the NBA. I mean, in the NBA, there's this discourse of like 3 and D players being like so valuable, right? I mean, Gilmore looks like a great 3 and D player, and so does Pollard. Basically perfectly built as 3 and D guys. Um, you know, I think maybe the meta might go that way eventually, but it's so hard because like a lot of these guys are going to be really popular, especially after Alabama winning and me talking about this. Um, so it's going to be hard to like hone in on all these guys, the best guys, right? They're going to be so popular. They're going to be so hard to win. So I wouldn't focus on like necessarily finding the absolute best guys for this, but find guys that can like fit these roles, especially for your division. Because like you're not going to need a 7-1 guy with these ratings in Division 2 or LO4, right? Um, at least not to win your conference, maybe to win the tournament, sure, but like, you know, uh, I think there's something to be said about like, yeah, finding these super idealized players, but Plaquemine is also just really good at finding these guys. And you can be too sure, but easier said than done for sure. And some of it's luck, some of it's development, some of it is skill. So, um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. He got these guys, they're great fits. Pollard for me especially, obviously when I played against Alabama, Went was like my main focus. Just how my teams were built too. Cali hurt me at times, but I I wasn't as scared of Cali as I was Went. And I even said I think Jackie Pollard was like the second most dangerous player for me, simply because like the way I play. I don't think I defend stretch fours very well. And so Pollard is a great stretch four. He's like perfectly built for that. So, just that alone would like alter the way I play my defense. I couldn't purely sink in my defense to guard against Went. And neither Gilmore's ta shooting and Callie's talent shooting doesn't really allow for that either. But Pollard especially was the thing that like inverts everything. So that made it really hard. Obviously, his defense and rebounding and size, he's great on defense, though. It's not like he's some soft big man. So, um, a lot of guys in this game, they may be stretch fours on offense, but they're not bigs on defense. So, but Pollard wasn't like that. So it was a great pickup, a great pickup for Bama. So I just want to highlight that. Again, not that Pollard doesn't have weaknesses, but he was a good fit for this team. Really good. Yeah. Um, so I mean, those are the things I would talk about. Bama also, I mean, it should be highlighted how Bama plays, I guess. So first off, they had a crazy weighted skill index. I mean, a crazy TPI, the namesake of this podcast, Team Power Index, but the weighted skill index is like the TPI of the guys who played, but like with the minutes weighted, that's how it's in the name. So you can see how Bama like shifted almost all their minutes to the starters, which rightfully so. I mean, look at the roster. It's so I wouldn't call it top heavy because they have depth, down to here to Patrick, but the top five or to Pollard down here is um, it's just so strong, especially obviously the top two. So, focus all your minutes there. And yeah, I mean, that's a good strategy to have, especially, win all game like this, where there's no game afterwards. So, I mean, you have to worry about fatigue, but you don't have to worry about injuries. So it's like push your guys, shorten your rotation. And I mean, Lupa kind of did that too, right? Playing their guys pretty heavy minutes. Um, so, both teams went that way. It just sometimes it's foul trouble, sometimes it's fatigue, sometimes it's just talent. And, Bama was the best team all season. Um, and yeah, I mean, they deserve to win for sure. Um, this whole season you can see Bama's weird. Obviously there's the huge threat of Went in the middle, right inside, but they shot a lot of threes, and I think that was probably part of Bama's like strategy, right? To kind of like the Dwight Howard, Orlando Magic days, where it's just like let Dwight, roam the middle, patrol the middle, control it, and dominate in there, and then spread out the floor, open up the middle of the floor for their dominant big man, and open up the floor. Bama, you know, has most of that recipe, I'd say, with Cowley and Gilmore and Pollard. But to me, Schneider at point guard, not shooting a ton of threes and not shooting very well. I think that was like the one kind of weakness, I'd say. But hardly a weakness when you play like this. So yeah. I mean, I just noticed Madison didn't shoot well at all this season, so that'll be interesting as he I believe steps into the starter's role next year. So hopefully he bounces back for you. Um, but yeah, I mean that's Bama. Um, I don't know. Usually those are pretty short. I mean, when it's not my own team, I mean, we can go through their run. Some people called this like the most, I don't know, the most difficult run, postseason run, tournament run of all time, or it's a gauntlet. St. Thomas Aquinas, East Central, and their crazy good backcourt. Seton Hall, who had a very good year this year, Canton, who had a very good year this year. Both Seton Hall and Canton, I believe, made the like Hardwood's all-time greatest teams list, where they hit certain benchmarks of like winning percentage, RPI, and point winning margin of victory, or margin, average margin. Um, so yeah, I think it makes sense that this is, one of the best teams. I mean, they crushed me in the conference playoff final, although I mean, there's some reasons for that. But yeah, I think I don't know how much to look at these runs because it's hard to like go into specifics really, but I'll try, I guess. Yeah. You know, uh I mean Bama plays like pretty standard splits on their man and zone pressure. A little bit of pressure, a little bit of zone, but mostly man, just because they really believe in their matchups as they should, with that much talent. Um, yeah, I mean I guess they zone here more, so that's interesting. Um, I don't know why Plockman chooses to do that stuff. We all have our different beliefs with regards to like why certain defense work or in what certain scenarios and matchups certain defense work. And so, I haven't picked Plockman's brain on all that. I know the way Bama's president game plans is similar to how I do, where it's like you look at your opponent and then try to match up on how to stop them. It's very like a defensive or reactive um, method of game planning, and not everyone does that. But so I'm sure a lot of these changes with the defense have to do with the matchups that they're seeing. Because I'm not sure you know what speaks to what for them. I'm not Blogman. I'm not in their brain. So yeah. But I think that's really interesting to see. But you can see Bama is kind of in the same realm a lot of the time. As I'm going through these and just kind of highlighting it a little bit. Um, but yeah, I mean, I know this is great analysis. But yeah, one thing I wanted to highlight was actually this matchup against East Central. So Um, East Central is a team built by NAF, who is or Tali, but is a team built a lot around these strong perimeter guys, Dix, York, Huntley, Cushman, Beaumont, I believe, are all like 160 SI or higher and or 4 or 5 stars, um, which is like a crazy thing. And they all return next year, I believe. Yeah, almost 170 SI, all 4 or 5 stars, all returning next year, all on the perimeter, right? I mean, that's your top five, and there's only 3 perimeter slots. So he's gonna have to play some of these bigs. I mean, Day graduates, James graduates, he likes Dial. O'Neal is nice. Um, so yeah, that's going to be tough, but like that's so much depth, that's so much talent. Like this is a team that's a lot of people are looking at as favorites to win Legends next year and potentially the national title, definitely contender. So I just wanted to point that out. Bama beat them, crushed them by 20. So it shows you how strong Alabama is, and this is not a bad roster for right now, and it'll only get better. So yeah, pointing that out for people looking towards the future. Um, One thing I wanted to point out was I just found this out as I was trying to look up other tournaments. If you type in, like I'm on the tournament page, and so if you type in like just the year, it takes you actually to, I believe, the last projections, and it's like a error because now there's too many teams or something. And so these are like the last projections coming in, but I guess there was some switching of some sort because I was a 1 seed. I was like the last 1 seed, and then Yale moved up. Canton was a 2 seed somewhere. Um, But yeah, these are like the last one seeds, I guess. I don't even know. I mean, Riverside is a 3 seed here, but they're in Division 2, so I don't know what this really is, but this is strange. Anyways, this is the first time I'm seeing this. I just discovered this, so I think that's interesting. Um, I don't know if else has ever seen this, but yeah, I just stumbled upon this, so I thought that was interesting. But how you find that is typically how I find what I wanted to look for. You have to like type in one or something. I don't know what happened if you type in two, because I saw that too. Oh, Division 2, got it. Okay. So yeah, I'm learning new stuff too, even though I played this game for so long. Um, what was the other thing I wanted to talk about? I don't know, not much. I mean, thanks for watching. I know, great ending. I'm wearing red in support of Alabama. Congrats again to Plockman and the Tide, and UC Riverside and Southern Methodist if they're listening or watch this or whatever. Yeah, just a nice, quick, short video reviewing things. Like I said, there's only so much I can do, and I don't try to know all these rosters anymore. It's too hard. But great year by Alabama. Um, and yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll try to look at some of these games. I don't know much about Rutgers. I know some about St. Thomas, and this was a close game, and Hodge is really proud of, having the closest game in the national tournament run for Alabama. So yeah, I mean that's a hat to hang, something to hang your hat on. Um, but yeah, I mean it's like I don't know. Did Alabama ever really have trouble? Not, I don't know. Not to me, it doesn't seem like. St. Thomas is a good team. They were in Legends. They're pretty solid. They swept me, right? Um, but yeah, I mean, it's like I don't know how you game plan for Alabama. I got crushed by them, and I'm it's tough. But yeah. So, anyways, I think that'll be it for this episode of TPI. Thanks for watching, listening, and we'll do this again another time next season, hopefully. Uh, Toodles, peace. I forget what we say to sign off. You know, uh, Usually I just am rambling on as